Hey everybody, KC here. Real quickly, because I know I'll get a couple of emails, I'm watching the road, right? I'm not looking at the camera, I'm watching the road. I'm just having a little conversation with you as if, the same way I'd be having a conversation if Mrs. Content Guy was sitting next to me. Anyway, there's been kind of a theme, right, over the last week or two about things that we're losing or may have less access to because of climate change. Parmesan cheese is one. Arboreal rice. Glass for wine bottles. Things like that we're going to have less access to because climate change is changing the circumstances under which we live. And it's interesting. I got an email the other day from a reader who said, and I don't know if he was being a Weisenheimer or he was actually doesn't believe in climate change perhaps and wanted to hoist me on my own petard because I've been running these stories. And, he said, well, let me ask you a question. If scientists told you that you could have an impact on climate change by eating rice-a-roni and eating highly processed Parmesan cheese and eating and drinking boxed wine, would you do it? First of all, it's a silly question. I don't know that scientists are ever going to say that. But if they did, yeah, I would do that. Absolutely. Now, I will tell you that while I would do that because I think it would be the responsible thing to do, I'd be a lot more impressed if some of the companies out there that behave irresponsibly in terms of the crap they spew into the environment, if maybe they took it upon themselves to behave more responsibly. And I would think it'd be more impressive if maybe some governments would not just have stronger regulations, but maybe enforce their regulations having to do with climate change. But yes, I'll eat rice-a-roni and drink boxed wine if that is what is required to have an impact on climate change. I will say, it is interesting the degree to which we are losing touch, though, with some of the things that make life pleasurable, make life, a little bit more romantic, if you will. There was a story in the Atlantic just the other day noting that, basically the stick shift is becoming extinct, that fewer than 2% of cars that are even available right now are available with a manual transmission. And when that changes and there are no cars that are available with a manual transmission, I'm going to feel that loss. For most of my life, I have driven cars with manual transmissions and largely without hardtops. And when the time comes that I can't do that anymore, I'll be sad about that. But I can't help but think to myself that the person who wrote me that email about the rice-a-roni and stuff like that, I think people like that, seems to me that at some level, there are people who have never gotten pleasure out of doing things like grating fresh Parmesan cheese, right? Or lovingly stirring a risotto for a half an hour to make sure that it is a little bit al dente, but creamy just to the right amount. They don't find any particular romance out of when you pop the cork out of a bottle of wine. And there are probably people who don't find any romance in the idea that you're in a car and you can shift from third to fourth and to fifth, and the engine purrs, and you can hear a little bit you can hear the change in sound, and you feel like you're driving the car as opposed to the car driving you. Hey, listen, we're going to electric cars. That's because of climate change. We're going to probably go to self-driving cars, and I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. But I don't know. I do think that the world will be a little poorer for all those changes, but sometimes you have to do things for the greater good. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this morning, and as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.